After all kinds of spy shots, rumors, and speculation, the 2025 Corvette C8 ZR1 is finally here, bringing with it over 1,000 horsepower and a whole lot more to challenge the world's best supercars.
MOTROLIX.
Welcome back to the channel. I'm Alex Luft. So Chevy has just unveiled the Corvette C8 ZR1, otherwise known as the King of the Hill, with the most powerful V8 ever produced in America from an auto manufacturer, along with other mind-bending specs and a throwback design cue. Given that the ZR1's biggest draw is its power, let's start with the engine. As was originally reported by GMAuthority.com years ago, the Corvette C8 ZR1 is powered by a twin-turbocharged 5.5-liter V8 dual overhead cam, otherwise known as the LT7. Peak horsepower is a whopping 1,064 horses at 7,000 RPM, while peak torque is 828 pound-feet at 6,000 RPM. These figures have been measured per guidelines set by the Society of Automotive Engineers. So this isn't Chevy's figures per se. These are actual figures measured by industry SAE guidelines. This makes the C8 ZR1 the most powerful V8 ever produced in America from an auto manufacturer, as opposed to something like a coach builder or a specialty equipment producer, for instance. The LT7 is based on the same architecture as the LT6 in the C8 Z06, which is already the most powerful naturally aspirated production V8 engine ever. But the LT7 takes it to the next level with twin turbochargers, which is the first time ever that a factory Corvette has featured turbocharging. Now, even though the LT7 starts with the same general architecture as the LT6, the LT7 is a lot more than just a turboed LT6, and that's because engineers changed and optimized virtually every system for the boosted application. So unique to the LT7 are head castings with unique ports and a larger combustion chamber. Valve train timing and lift profile have been optimized for forced induction with higher exhaust temp enabling exhaust valves, a completely new intake system tuned for twin turbochargers, CNC machined combustion chamber exhaust and intake ports specific to the LT7, dual ported shroud, ball bearing, and mono-scroll turbochargers measuring in at 76 millimeters, integrated with the exhaust manifold to reduce the volume and the distance from the exhaust valve to the turbine wheel for a quick response. And these, by the way, of course, feature electronic wastegates. And then there's also intelligent anti-lag engine calibration techniques that were specific for the ZR1, and they adapt and react to the driving style. Now there's also added block and head machining to support turbo cooling and oiling. There are counterweight changes to account for a unique piston and a unique connecting rod for the crank train. And then get this, a secondary port fuel injection system has been added to deliver the needed additional fuel, really to support the engine's massive output numbers. And I should also note that the LT7 also retains the flat plane crank from the LT6, which of course is quite interesting. Here's a quote from Chevy's press release that I think is worth reading. Quote, "The LT7 engine is purpose-built to accomplish its 4-figure horsepower mission with no compromises in componentry and maintains the rev-happy character that is the heart of the small block Gemini engine family." End quote. Now, for some reason, Chevy has elected to call the LT6 as well as the LT7, the small block Gemini engine family. I should probably note that neither the LT6 nor the LT7 are related to anything associated with small blocks. They are dual overhead cam engines. They're not overhead valve. They're not push rods. They're completely different. So I'm not sure why they're calling them small blocks. They are not small blocks. But nevertheless, the motor will be hand assembled by master engine builders at the Performance Build Center, the PBC, which is located within the Bowling Green Assembly Plant in Kentucky. So over 1,000 horsepower means that the C8 ZR1 has more power than two LS7 engines. In other words, the C8 ZR1 actually has more than one LS7 per bank. Just think about that for a second. That is just mind-boggling, mind-bending. However you want to put it, it's impressive. On to the transmission. So that big increase in power and torque that the LT7 enjoys, it really needed to have come along with improvements in the 8-speed dual clutch transmission, which has been fortified with inner and outer input shaft upgrades, increased gear capacity with strength increased via shot peening for all gears, and also there are final drive refinements. There's also oil management to support the vehicle's increased longitudinal and lateral capabilities, increased control valves to accommodate the higher required clutch clamp load for the LT7, and then finally there are final drive refinements. Onto the exterior. Now, as first reported by GMAuthority.com about 2 years ago, the C8 ZR1 will be available in both coupe as well as hardtop convertible variants, body styles, if you will. Now, the coupe will continue to feature the manually removable roof panel, whereas the hardtop convertible, it retains the signature styling element of the C8 convertible, which are these nacelles right behind the cockpit. But there are a few changes to the way that the roofs are treated. Now, Chevy says that its teams, quote, worked to elevate the striking design first revealed with the 8th generation Corvette Stingray and accentuate lines that evoke the car's sense of emotion, end quote, for the ZR1. Now, the team looked at every component of the Corvette ZR1 to ensure cooling and aero remained top of mind, and any change that was done really contributed to the car's mission of performance. Now, speaking of the roof, both for the coupe and the convertible, the roof panel is now carbon fiber, and that is done to ultimately reduce mass and lower the center of gravity for both models. Now, one of the key things that sets the C8 ZR1 apart from other C8 models that have been revealed thus far is the split rear window, which is an iconic design element that was last seen on the Corvette C2, but in fact, the Corvette team quietly previewed the split rear window on the Corvette C8 Z06 GT3R race car. Here's some insight on the split rear window from Chevy head of design Phil Zak. Quote, "We didn't approach this decision lightly. We know this is a beloved element from Corvette's history. Not only does this element provide function, but we were able to integrate passionate design into the form and do it in a way that paid homage to Corvette's history. ZR1 felt like the right time to bring the split window back." End quote. Now, as Mr. Zak had alluded to, the split rear window on the C8 ZR1 actually serves two purposes. First, it provides the obvious design statement, which is kind of to create this spine between the two rear windows. And by the way, that spine, it is available in exposed weave or body color. But then secondly, the split rear window also has a functional purpose in that it provides increased heat extraction from the engine compartment, working hand in hand with several other cooling elements throughout the ZR1, which we'll get to in a second. Further changes to the C8 ZR1 over the Z06, the E-Ray, and the Stingray include a unique aluminum wheel design that's available in 4 finishes, including, get this, Edge Blue, which is an homage to the ZR1's signature color. There's also a new optional carbon fiber wheel design that's exclusive to the ZR1, and of course its purpose is to further reduce mass. Also, the LT7 engine's intake is finished in Edge Blue, which of course delivers an engine that looks just as good as it performs. And then beyond that, the 2025 Corvette ZR1 also benefits from new exterior colors that are added to the 2025 model year Corvette range, which includes Competition Yellow, Hysteria Purple, and Sebring Orange. Full-length racing stripes and brake caliper colors, including an exclusive blue for the calipers, will also be available. On to performance. So on the performance side, the Corvette team tells us that the C8 ZR1 is all about this concept, this idea that the team calls speed with ease. The vehicle features specific aerodynamic and cooling changes compared to other C8 models. These include, for instance, a flow-through hood, so Air enters the front grille, it flows through the intercooler heat exchanger, and then it exits the hood, thereby increasing front downforce and cooling the charged air temperatures. There are also carbon fiber side profile air ducts. So clean, cool air is funneled through these ducts, which are cleanly integrated into the signature wishbone bezel behind the cabin doors to cool the rear brakes through an intricately designed system that doesn't impact rear wheel travel, which is really nice. There are also unique fresh air intake ducts. So here, carbon fiber inlets are located on top of the rear hatch that ingest cool air to cool the turbo compressor inlet air temperatures. Note that this particular duct is only on the coupe. The convertible does not get these. From there, the Corvette C8 ZR1 will be offered in not one, but really two, as is really typical for Corvette. It will be offered in two unique setups or configurations. The first, and the standard one, features a sleeker body with lower drag and a small spoiler with customer adjustable short and tall wickers. Now this setup also includes a standard carbon fiber front splitter, rocker moldings, side intake with integrated brake cooling, and a front underwing with gurney deflectors. This particular setup will ride on a set of Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires. And really, the goal here of this particular configuration is to blend the best of on-road comfort as well as track capability. Now, the second setup is the optional ZTK Performance Package, which, according to Chevy, unlocks a true track weapon. Now, the ZTK package adds an aggressive high downforce rear wing, front dive planes, and a tall hood gurney lip, all of which are constructed from woven carbon fiber. The ZTK pack also adds underbody strakes to replace the standard front underwing stall gurney to further increase front downforce. And the suspension tuning that's included in the ZTK package incorporates stiffer springs and adds Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2R tires. I should also note that Carbon Aero, featuring all aerodynamic equipment from the ZTK package, is available on the standard ZR1 chassis as well. So this is in case someone doesn't want the more aggressive suspension tuning and the Cup 2R rubber, which, let's be honest, I mean, the Cup 2Rs, they're really only bearable on the track, unless you're really a hardcore, kind of driver who wants to drive with track tires on the street, which I personally have done, and I wouldn't recommend anyone do for more than a short period of time, especially in really dry conditions. So that's really what that configuration is for. But I should note that the ZR1 with the ZTK package produces the most downforce ever that a Corvette has produced, with over 1,200 pounds at top speed. More on the performance side of the equation, Chevy says that during testing and development, the ZR1 tackled some of the world's most demanding racetracks, including the Nürburgring, Road Atlanta, and the Virginia International Raceway. Here's what Corvette Executive Chief Engineer Tad Juchter had to say about it all. Quote, "We went into the ZR1 program with lofty goals, but even our first development tests on track showed the teams were already exceeding them. As we worked to develop this car, we continued to leap past expectations, and we knew we had a special Corvette on our hands." End quote. Now, all that power, top speed, and performance needs to be tamed with proper braking. And Chevy says that the brake package on the C8 ZR1 uses a new carbon ceramic rotor manufacturing technology to deliver increased durability and reduced brake component temperatures. The front rotors measure in at 15.7 inches in diameter, that's 400 millimeters, and the rear rotors are 15.4 inches in diameter, that's 390 millimeters. This makes the front rotors the largest ever equipped on a Corvette from the factory. And note that this carbon ceramic brake system is the only one available on the C8 ZR1. There isn't like an upmarket or an up level or an upgradable brake system. There's just this one with the new carbon ceramic brakes. Now, what does all that ultimately deliver? Well, here's an idea of the C8 ZR1's performance. It can go from 80 to 200 miles an hour and back down to 80 miles an hour in just 24.5 seconds. Now, for the sake of comparison, that is 22% quicker than the C7 Corvette ZR1, and it is 53% quicker than the C6 Corvette ZR1, which is just downright impressive. This is why we're talking about these mind-boggling specs, right? This is all about the performance. Here are some more performance specs. So Chevy says that on its first lap at the Milford Proving Grounds MRC test track, the C8 ZR1 clocked a faster peak speed than the production C7 ZR1, and engineers clocked a sub 10-second quarter mile time on the Corvette ZR1's first launch. All right, let's quickly take a look at the interior before going into price and availability. So inside, the 2025 C8 ZR1 is really the same as all the other C8s that have been introduced to date, but there are a few unique touches, including ZR1 badging on a plaque inside the cabin, the sill plates, and on the steering wheel. Additionally, a new finishing stitch pattern that's specific to the ZR1 can be found on the doors, and that is available only on the 3LZ trim. A boost gauge is also present, and of course that denotes the very first factory turbocharged Corvette in the nameplate's history. And then there is a new habanero interior colorway that's available, as is a blue stitch option. And then finally, there's also an exclusive blue color available for the seatbelts. As far as price and availability are concerned, the 2025 Corvette ZR1 will enter production in 2025 and will be built at General Motors' Bowling Green Assembly Plant in Kentucky alongside other Corvette C8 models, the Stingray, the Corvette Z06, and the Corvette E-Ray. Now, Chevy did not yet announce pricing or availability details for the C8 ZR1 just yet, so stay tuned for those. But, just real quick, some speculation, if I may. Given the fact that the C8 Z06 currently starts at around $110,000, I personally don't expect the ZR1 to be priced anywhere below the $150,000 mark. In fact, it probably might be even higher. So set your expectations accordingly. Now, I should note, for those who have not been reading GMauthority.com, the C8 ZR1 will actually not be the range topper of the C8 family. That honor will belong to the upcoming C8 Zora, which, as GMauthority.com reported years ago, the Zora will combine the twin-turbo 5.5-liter V8 LT7 engine from the ZR1, but it will combine it with a hybrid system that will drive the front wheels. As we've already seen on the E-Ray, that will result in an absolute monster for really the last word in Corvette performance. And that's really it. That's all I can say right now about the C8 ZR1. For GMauthority.com and the MOTROLIX Network, I'm Alex Luft. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.
MOTROLIX.